Music to get us started. Let's see. We are live.
Yeah.
Come on in. Oh my God.
Hey.
Where's everybody? Come on in.
This is like some swing Dixie jam or something.
Yes.
Web Diva, good morning. It's been 3 months.
Yes, it's been 3 months. Hey, Stone Freak is in the house. Good morning, Blade Brown. Good morning, Dorothy Edwards. Happy Madhouse Saturday, Man Ray 10. Welcome, Arlene. Happy Saturday to you.
Hello, hello.
Hey there, Annie. Hello, Nick Felden. Yo, Kim. Thank you so much for being here. And good morning, C. Lee. Our disclaimer, we don't know them mofos and we don't care what they think. Now, somebody hand me a mirror so we can look at this truth. All right.
Good morning, good morning.
Dr. Claude is in the house. Yes. Love this. Good morning, wisdom and love. All right, we're going to start some of our housekeeping. The state of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. We're going week to week, not date to date. And as Web Diva has pointed out, we are 3 months in to What Did Prince Do This
Wow,
Week.
that's 3 months?
3 months. Can you believe it? It's pretty crazy. You can follow the schedule here. We're reading the expanded edition.
What you talking about, Ken? Hey. What's up, Deja? I see.
Is Tanja in the house? Oh, Edgar is in the house. Yes. Stone Freak, I'm so mad that you can't come to New York City, but I'm sure you'll be on the live stream. We got Lisa Williams coming in from the San Antonio airport, and we're going to talk about the San Antonio show from the 1983-1999 tour this week. We have Benjamin Bradley from Jackson, Mississippi. I have to shout out my Southerners. So thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Diana Parker. Drea Dances is here. Yes, Tracy was in the house. So we got some more stuff from Tracy. We got Pamela Glass. We got Audria in the house from the ATL. We got Alexander Rosado.
Rosado, I like it.
All right, Stone Freak, I will see you there whenever they announce those tickets about the celebration. Tracy is back with us. Thank you so much for being with us last week. Everybody in the mama said it was the best episode, and you want to know why? It's because of you, Tracy. That's the reason why it was.
Yeah, that's right, Tracy. It's all about you.
Yes, it's all about you, Tracy. Welcome from Tucson, Arizona. Ricky is in the house.
Tucson, Arizona, coming home.
Yeah, Lawrence is also representing the ATL. This song is just so happy.
I know, I might get caught in it. They just get hype and hype as they go.
Yes. And it gets faster and faster. I feel like I'm at a Fishbone concert.
And church say amen.
Amen.
Oh, woo. Man, they was gigging in the studio.
Oh my God. If you weren't awake, you should be awake now. It seems like Benjamin Bradley, who's another alliterative brother, because I love my alliterative names. I'm D'Angela Duff. Benjamin Bradley went to school with some of my kin folks, and he's a Jackson State grad. HBCU is in the house.
Right on.
And let's see what Tanja's talking about. Tracy, I'm still fighting for Black Alley. Your P connections run deep. And then Stone Freak is saying, Mike, I need those B-sides you played on your channel.
Man, they need to put them out. Yes.
Yeah. And Jennifer is waving, even though they're supposed to be on a Zoom call right now. So I appreciate you double dipping. That's so kind of you. And we have Stephanie Mills in the house. All right. I want to put that song on again, but I'm not, because we won't get started, and we have a lot to cover today. Hopefully we won't go over, but I have a strange feeling that we probably will, because there's a lot to cover. All right. So please subscribe, like, and help spread the word about what did Prince do this week for Prince, not for me. We want to spread the knowledge, and we also want to contribute to the knowledge, which is what Tracy did last week. So if you went to a particular date, particularly for the 1999 tour, because I'm all about the 1999 tour, I would love to hear from you. And if you don't want to come on, let's say you don't like public speaking, or if you're like my mama and you're not on social media, send us any photos or anything that you'd like to share with us. Obviously, we would give you credit, but it's really about just archiving and making sure that we have all the facts correct about Prince. And as everybody knows, Prince's archive is super, super deep, and any additional information we can get would be most helpful. All right. So
I had to do my Janet Jackson because you said the knowledge.
The knowledge.
Did you really want? Anyway, okay, I'm done.
All right. So last time the Prince Twitter thread series actually stopped, but there was a bonus thread from DJ UMB. I say UMB even though it's from DJ and so if you didn't see the Prince Twitter thread, or you haven't had an opportunity to catch up on it or see the final encore thread, again, the slideshow is at the bottom of the book club website, and if you click on the image, it will take you directly to the link. And I love this from Laura. Acknowledge me. We can just go all day with the 6 degrees of Prince. Or in most cases, in most cases, like 2 to 3 degrees of separation is usually not that many levels to get back to Prince, and with a lot of stuff. Okay, I cannot believe this. I really should be working on the symposium, but I love what did Prince do this week so much. It has given me so much joy that I am here with you today. But we're 5 days out from the symposium, and we're going to do our next session of What Did Prince Do This Week live from the symposium. And I can't wait, where Michael Dean and I are going to have so much fun doing it in person. It will actually be my very first ever kind of podcast. I don't know what you call this, live. It's like, with an audience. It's going to be
in
crazy.
some ways it might be my first as a podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with an audience. So that's going to be like a live audience. That's going to be that's going to be dope. Yeah, it really is. And what I want to do is just quickly go over the website really quickly, because I have people asking me questions and all of that. If you look at the top, there's a lot of information on the website, and the main thing I would go to if I were you is the schedule at a glance, and it gives you a really great overview of what's happening all 3 days, and then most importantly, where it is happening, because we have technically 2 physical locations and a virtual location. So on Friday, we're going to be hanging out at 5 Metrotech Center in Brooklyn in the Pfizer Auditorium. And it's only like a 5-minute walk from both of these venues. It's on NYU's campus, their Brooklyn campus. NYU does have a Brooklyn campus. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to primarily be at 370J in Brooklyn, New York, except for the morning session is going to be completely virtual. So if you show up to 370J at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., nobody's going to be there. So don't come. The doors are going to open at 1 p.m. on Sunday at 370 J Street. And it's a really important day for a couple of reasons. One, Dan Charnas, who is the author of Dilla Time, the book about Jay Dilla, who is also an NYU professor, is going to give an incredible presentation about Prince and the LM1 drum machine. For me, this is a do not miss presentation. And then also, it's going to be a heavy hitter day on Sunday. Normally with a lot of conferences and symposiums, the last day is like a light day, but no, don't get it twisted. Sunday is going to be just as powerful as Friday and Saturday, because we're also going to have the main roundtable about 1999, the album, with some really heavy hitters: Anil Dash, Monique Kufson, Jason King, Mark Anthony Neal, Joan Morgan. You should know those names. If you don't know those names, just Google them and you'll understand. And last but definitely not least, the Super Deluxe, the 1999 Super Deluxe Roundtable, which will be moderated by Michael Dean himself.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
We're going to have some fun.
Yes, it's going to be insane. I can't wait for this particular roundtable because, one, Michael Dean is one of the best moderators ever. Oh. Troy Guat will be joining us for the first time at a symposium as a panelist. Jason Orr, who is my dear friend from the ATL, but he's like a cultural institution in and of himself, and he is hilarious. And he's also a basement level, sub-level, deep Prince fan. He's not like a superficial Prince fan. Jason is super deep. And then we're going to have Tanya Pendleton, and we're going to have Casey Rain from The Violet Reality. And that's Sunday. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire schedule. You can do that for yourself. But the main event is going to be Friday. And if you can only make one day in person, it should be Friday, because it's going to be Jill Jones. And I want people to come out for her. We want to give her flowers now. And we just want to show up for Jill Jones. You don't have to show up for me. I don't care if you don't come to it, but please show up for Jill. I would really, really appreciate it. And that's happening on Friday night. Because again, the way the schedule at the glance is working, if you look at it on the desktop, is that each column represents a day. If you're looking at it on your cell phone, the days are in order and so on and so forth. So you got your schedule at the glance there. And then in terms of the people, you can look and see, read more about the different people by clicking on their name, and you'll get to a profile and you'll see more about them. And then for people who might want to know about the presentations, there will be presentations and roundtables. Roundtables are when people just talk and have a discussion, but presentations is when people have slideshows and whatnot. So you can read about who's talking about what, and you can read their abstracts. So I could go on, but I won't. But basically what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of information is on the website. So you can go there and you will be informed. And then also the live stream is actually going to be on because this came up. Stephanie asked me, the live stream is going to be directly on the Symposium website, which is tripleThreat.polishedsolid.com. It's not going to be streamed on YouTube. We're not using AirMeet this time around. I have a professional live streaming company because I can't do 50 things at one time. I can't be virtual and in person at the same time. So a professional
Superwoman.
Yes, I wish, but I can't do that. So thank you so much for saying that this looks like something not to miss. I think if you're a Prince fan, and particularly of the 1999 era, it's a must experience, especially Jill, because Jill not only was on the tour with Prince, and she was also singing background for Vanity Six. And then she was singing backgrounds and vocals on all the studio recordings. So I think it's an incredible opportunity to do a deep dive into 1999. I am super, super grateful for Jill for coming. I asked a lot of people, and Jill said yes. So not
And
only
just to cut in, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We just and everybody in the room, and I'm saying this, thank you to you, D'Angelo, for putting this on. I'm serious. Like, it's
Thank
beautiful. Just so all the people that are going to be at home and they just get to wake up, and you're going to get 3 days of Prince information, insight, and you just like, I mean, it's like an all day thing every day. It's awesome. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. But I'm doing it for Prince. This is the only reason why I'm doing it. And to be honest, I'm also doing it for What Time Is It? I don't think that album gets talked about enough. Like Vanity Six, the album gets talked about more than What Time Is It? I don't understand it. And I think it's one of Prince's best albums. Yes, it's a Time album, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a Prince album.
Right there with you. Right there with you. If there's a top 10 on my top 10 Prince albums list, that album is in the top 10.
Yeah, it's in mine as well. I mean, we won't start the symposium right now, but I could, because that's how much I really love these trilogy of albums. All right, so what I want to do is actually talk about some errors that I made. So my husband got on me for messing up the date for Sign of the Times. So I had the Sign of the Times album as 1988. Obviously, we know it's 1987, but I'm doing these things so fast because of trying to juggle the symposium planning and organizing with the What Did Prince Do this week. Sometimes I make errors. I am a human being. And then I also made an error when I was discussing that radio show that Zach Hoskins had in his Prince Twitter thread. The name of that, and it's kind of like Soul Train, or it was like a Soul Train specific show for Detroit, Michigan. And I had never heard of it before. So you should definitely seek out. There's a lot of clips on YouTube, and it's called The Scene. I think I said the show, I think, if I'm correct. And then I wanted to talk about this article really quickly. So we talked about this guy named Vern Gagne, and I was like, I don't know who it is. And then Celie was like, it's a wrestler. And what was really cool is that Sterling Stewart on Twitter did a little mini thread about Vern Gagne. And then you can see Vern Gagne to the left, and you can see Big Chick to the right. And what's interesting about Vern Gagne is that he was born in Minnesota, and he actually died in Bloomington, Minnesota. And we actually talked about the Bloomington, Minnesota show last week when we were talking about Vern Gagne. So I thought that was a really interesting. But another thing I wanted to point out about Sterling's thread is that this is what I want to happen. I can't stress this enough. This is like our book club. So we had Tracy Humphrey come on last week and really contributed. Like Michael Dean and I, we don't know everything. And so we want you, to help us sort of fill in the gaps. And so I really appreciated that Sterling did this little mini thread. So again, if you go to the website for the book club, way at the bottom, you'll find the slideshow. And if you click on it, you can go click on the image. It'll take you directly to the Twitter thread.
I got a phone call about that gentleman, the wrestler. It was Big Sexy.
Yeah.
Really into wrestling. And I think he was watching the replay, not understanding it might have been live. And I was doing something. He was calling like 3 or 4. And I'm like, what? Is this an emergency? Mike, you don't know that was the burner. My bad. Like, Lord. But I appreciate it.
Yes. So We need the community to come together, and you are coming together. We are like, this is for us. It's not for me and Michael Dean. It is for us. So anything you want to contribute. So we really appreciate it. Speaking of contributions, Tracy has blessed us with even more contributions with some photos from the March 11th, 1983 date from Huntsville, Alabama. Remember, I said when I was trying to research Huntsville, I couldn't find anything, and Tracy Humphrey came to the rescue. This week, we're going to talk about a couple of dates, one of them being San Antonio, Texas, where I couldn't really find anything. So if you went to the San Antonio, Texas date in particular, please help us out. So this is the Von Braun Civic Center that Tracy went to go see the Prince 1999 tour in Huntsville, Alabama. And you can see her ticket, and you can see like the guest passes where you can see Prince the Time and Vanity 6. A lot of us have seen this, but going back to sort of Michael Dean's original requests, you know, we also have to think about the new people who might just be getting into Prince, and they might not know about the backstage passes and so on and so forth, and how well designed some of them were, and they're collectibles on their own right, just the backstage passes. And some people collect tickets, some people collect unused tickets, like it's like a whole thing out there. And then this is Tracy's ticket, and you can see pictures of Tracy and Tracy's sister and Tracy's friends and all of that. And here are some close-ups, and I loved how they have it seems like they were really into the time more than Prince, because of like their you'll see with Tracy's
Yes.
outfit, it's like it's so Morris.
This just takes me back to the 80s. God, I see this.
Yeah. So it was so great. It's so great to see these images. And these were taken, Tracy told me, like on the side of the stage.
Wow.
So thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing this with us. And then these are some clippings from a local Huntsville, Alabama newspaper. So, and then Tracy told me that this is the only merch that they purchased at the show. So these two posters, the Prince poster is an iconic poster. I talk a lot about this in the presentation that I gave at 7888 Kirsty Fairclough's conference about smoke, because I'm obsessed with smoke. And I will say one thing about this photo of this, and I had this poster at one time, and I realized that, I don't know, maybe my mom had some of my posters, but some of my posters are missing, and this is one of them. But I know I had this poster because I stared at it for hours, because I knew it was something weird about this poster to me. I was like, I couldn't quite figure it out, like, because I was only 13 years old. But if you read Alan Bolio's book, Before the Rain, he says that this is actually a black and white photo that he actually colored. And I was like, oh, this is why it looks so weird, because it makes Prince
surreal,
surreal and otherworldly. And for like when I was a kid, I stared at this poster the most, because I was just like, this doesn't look like Prince, but it is Prince, and he looks like he's from another world. So I have a fascination with this poster. And as Ricky is, and yes, Kim, the smoke abides. I love that smoke. And then Ricky, that time poster is indeed a classic. It's a great poster, and I love that it actually has Vanity 6 backdrop in the back. So, and it's kind of symbolic, because for those of you who don't know, but you should know that the Time was the backing band for Vanity 6, and they were behind that pink curtain. So in this poster, they're in front of the pink fishnet curtain. So yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it does look like his wax work in Madame Tussauds. So, all right. So I ran out of time last week, and I wasn't going to read this, but I was like, no, I need to read this because it's just too darn good. So this is after the Bloomington, Minnesota show, and this is specifically about the after show. So I do want to take some time to read it. All right, so here we go. And it's written by Martian Color in Martian's Chronicles. And here we go. And I have a whole jug of water, so hopefully my voice won't go out like it did last time. So, party up. Friends, invited guests, and family grooved on the dance floor at the Prince Homecoming Bash last Tuesday at the Registry Hotel. One surprise reveler, Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac, was there with her new Minnesota husband, Kim Anderson. Nicks and Prince reportedly have collaborated on a new song, which may be issued as a single. No wallflowers here. Both Prince and Nicks danced to the music spun by DJ Kevin Cole. Among the jams were many of Prince's own. The crowd reaction was funkiest when James Brown's Get Up Off That Thing got people on the good foot out on the towels. Members of The Time and Vanity 6 were also there in a brief, aimless jam session with his badness, meaning Prince, on drums. The Time on their axis, and Sue Ann Carwell, everybody should know who Sue Ann Carwell is, singing took place around 1 a.m. Not content to make their own kind of music, the musicians retired back to the dance floor where the foot action went until 4:30 a.m., while a 1999 ice sculpture melted down behind a healthy serving of ribs, chicken, shrimp, and crab. They were eating good. Purple balloons filled with helium quickly became souvenir items. A much rumored Wednesday night Prince appearance at First Avenue did not take place. Be looking for his royal badness on the cover of the Rolling Stone very soon. Somebody better grab 5 copies for his mother. The story is reportedly written by the ex-Minnesota Daily and City Pages writer Debbie Miller. Photos for the feature were snapped by Richard Avedon, who said, one Stone insider found Prince to be one of the best subjects he's ever worked with. And as I said last week, Richard Avedon is one of the premier portrait photographers of all time. So Richard Avedon is a massive deal. So I really wanted to read that, even though this is about a show from the previous week, because it really kind of painted a picture of what that after show was like, down to what food was being
I was gonna say, so this is back when Prince and them was eating ribs and chicken. Now, if you correlate the music styling, what they's eating, then we get later on. Child, what's this? I don't eat ribs. Man, what if you'd have kept eating ribs? That's the book I want y'all to write in there.
That actually, I'm laughing, Michael Dean, but that is a really, really salient point.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
It was eating good, comfort food, spices was popping, chicken and stuff. I'm just saying.
We're just saying.
You never know.
You never know. Yep. All right. So here is another article that I want to read about about another show from last week, which was the Kalamazoo, Michigan show from Sunday, March 13th. This is actually one of my favorite articles. In fact, it might be my favorite article written by Prince by anybody. And it's not because I love what he says, but it's the author's name is Barney Hoskyns, and he actually went on tour with Prince during the 1999 tour. And the name of this is Prince's Second Coming Through Purple Haze. I actually referenced it quite a bit in that same presentation that I talked about, my smoke presentation. And this is from the UK magazine Enemy. People call it Enemy, and that's just an acronym for New Music Express. So again, it shows that picture that I was just obsessed with, because Barney sort of talks about, he indirectly talks about the impact of this poster, but not directly. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to read the whole article because it is very long, as you can see. But I do like the header at the bottom that says Barney Hoskyns tours with Prince, the American sex and soul star and heir apparent to Jimmy, Smokey, Stevie, and Sly, and wonders about the man's confused music and personality. Now, speaking of Sly Stone, like with the quickness, I'm sure it's been kind of like floating on the internet that Questlove is starting his own book imprint called Out. And the very first book is supposedly an autobiography co-written with someone, I can't remember his name, I should know, Ben Greenwood, who's written another Prince book actually. But Sly Stone's autobiography, this is a huge deal.
Yeah. Now, isn't Quest doing a movie on Sly too, a documentary or something?
I heard that too. So I don't know, but I know for a fact that the book is supposedly a done deal. But I had also heard about a possible Sly Stone doc as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so I want to read. Give me 1 second. I'm not going to read this whole article because it's just too much to read. But I want to read parts of it. So give me 1 second. All right, here we go. My eyes flicker open to Family Feud. The telephone is buzzing. A voice says to be in Vanity Six's limo in 5. 3 minutes later, I'm watching a gorgeous girl powder her face in a rearview mirror. She smiles and my heart melts. Her name is Vanity. We arrive at the concert hall and Prince's manager, Steve Fargnoli, has everyone say hi. Given that the 3-group troupe has been on that old long haul of a road since September, spirits are remarkably high. But this is a happy, multiracial, sexual family. No security passes have been issued for the tour. Instead, people get to know each other by sight, meaning they actually look at each other. Fargnoli tells me the racial mix of the tour's audiences has varied from town to town. Kalamazoo's turnout is predominantly Black, and while the girls are Janet Jacksons growing up in the shadow of Diana Ross's wardrobe, all the young dudes are spruced up like they're understudying for the time. Whatever else he's up to, the Times Moore's Day unquestionably has his dandy finger on a new pulse of Black chic. Vanity Six are the new Ronettes, beautiful, sexy, and witty. On Nasty Girl, Vanity gets down and demands 7 inches, but Kazoo can't get them up. I must buy my time, and it duly follows. As an aperitif, Moore's Day is a perfect foil to Prince. He pretends to no more than a transcendent poise. His cards are on the table with his handkerchief and cufflinks, and right now, the Times' lack of pretense is paying higher musical dividends than Prince's 1999. So I'm not finished, but again, this is another scenario where the critics are praising the Time, in some cases higher than Prince on this tour. I get to sleep on Vanity Six's tour bus, which there can be no more exquisite torture. One of 4 luxury cruises. We pull out of Kazoo at 1 a.m. The video vote is cast for World Warrior, aka Mad Max 2. The girls are meanwhile inspired to previously unknown heights of frivolity by the casual jibes of Steve Fargnoli. Is Vanity nasty? No, Vanity is adorable. Vanity is fabulous. Rapture flows from my eyes. Tenderness overcomes me. I thought that was like really just so great to write about Vanity, especially in this, like in real time when, you know, we've read all the other reviews and they're going like, they can't sing, you know, they won't have any careers. What are they doing on the stage and all of that? Half an hour over the Indiana border, the convoy convenes at what must be one of America's greasiest truck stops. Can you imagine Prince and Morris and Vanity at a truck stop?
I swear it's one of these books. Was it the Brown Mark book? They talk about going to some kind of truck stop place and it got a little crazy.
I think it was Brown Marks. I'm sure. And I've been to a lot of truck stops in my lifetime because my granddaddy was a transfer truck driver, so I know how grimy it can get. So
Come around here, boy.
yes.
Wait a minute.
So I can see this as plain as day. So it's a really interesting image in my mind. So okay, so they're at the truck stop. This is less a culture clash than a time warp. Peering up from biscuits dumped in brake fluid, the heavy eyes of truckers drink us in with distaste.
Wow.
Morris Day's lounge lizard jacket, vanity in her shimmering beauty, and over in a dark corner, a slight purple shade with its giant bodyguard, Chick. Steve Fargnoli forces me to eat the most hideous trucker's platter and watches with an evil leer as I repeatedly gag. Just as I'm about to chunder the whole thing into his lap, a look shot from the corner of a trembling doe eye stops me to the quick. Engulfed in the shadow of its attendant, the thing they call Prince creeps past me. And the second that our eyes meet, I see a face of fear and exhaustion, pallid and crumbling. It knows what I am doing here and fears my mission. Fixed to my seat by this deathly glance, I have to be helped back to the bus. Crawling into my bunk, I fall into the sleep of the condemned. So again, this article is really long, and I am not reading the entire thing for you, but I really wanted to read that particular part of it because I don't know. I just find it really enlightening. And like I said, this is probably my favorite article, not because it's the best, but it's just, I don't know. It's just really, really thoughtful. And
Paints a picture, sure.
yeah, it paints a picture for sure. And in the other parts in particular, he talks about how Prince is otherworldly. The reason why he's calling him Prince a thing, he's not trying to be derogatory, but if you read the entire article, you'll understand that Barney sort of sees Prince as an entity, as almost like an alien, like not of this earth. And so it's a really interesting article. So
Can I ask a question? This gentleman, have you heard of this guy before who wrote this, or what is he known?
Yeah, Barney Hoskyns. Yeah, so Barney Hoskyns actually wrote a lot about Prince. He might have even, I don't want to say he wrote a book, but I feel like he might have written a book on Prince. But he wrote a lot for Enemy. He was just like a music critic. But he wrote about Prince a lot. So JD Washington, if you have, I don't know, JD, if you're an academic, but if you're an academic, you have access to a lot of different archives through your local library. And then you might be able, even if you're not an academic, if you go to your local library, you might be able to, you can get the text of this through this archive called Rock's Back Pages. And Rock's Back Pages allows you to look at like all of the major music mags, or not major, but I guess the most popular. So like you can get Cream articles, CREEM, even though Cream actually has its own archive that you can get to through their website. But there's just like a lot of articles that you can't find through Rock's Back Pages. So that's actually how you can find some of these. And then obviously there's eBay. So one of the reasons why I put the cover on some of these articles is that if you go to eBay, you can still actually get this one, and it would be a really good one to have. So go ahead.
Just wanted to add it. I remember reading articles like this back in the day. And it always, the way he described Prince, and like you said, he's probably not doing it to be shady or offensive, but always, it's interesting because certain people just have a, call him an alien, or like they're just so bewildered. And I think they're just so taken by like specifically like a vanity, or more like the beauty of these people. Like they're just not used to seeing, Black people other than like he mentions those superstars sort of people. So to see some of our people just being us, how we get down, it's always funny. Like they was just so like amazed by it when I'm like, I get what he's saying, but sometimes I wish that these type of takes, I guess you could say, there were other varied takes back then that were just as prominent in these major magazines. Because I remember, like, sometimes I would let these opinions form my opinion of Prince sometimes. And looking back on it now, as I was young, I was like, yeah, I see why I was kind of like drifting off from certain things because they didn't like it in this magazine, or they
Mm.
would say something funny about it when really it was just Prince Morris and them. That's how we are, man. We on some dope shit. Like it's not always some magical.
The whole magical
Yeah,
Negro trope, which actually Darlene Nisi did a really fantastic episode on
that's right.
her podcast, Muse to the Pharaoh. There is, if you just Google like Muse to the Pharaoh, Darlene Nisi, it's literally called The Myth of the Prince and the Myth of the Magical Negro or something like that.
Mm.
And it's a really great conversation. And I think it's actually split over 2 parts. And I know that Camila Cummings was in that conversation alongside Tanya Pilkington. And I'm sure I'm missing someone else in addition to Darlene Nisi. And I don't know why I can't talk right now. But that is a must listen. So that would definitely go by it. And that's actually one thing that I really loved about Andrea Swenson's book. She has this quote, and I'd have to find the book, where she basically says, like, straight out that most people think that Prince like is an alien who fell out of the sky, when in fact he was not. Like, he worked really hard. He grew up in Minneapolis. He had a, like, musician after musician who came before him in the Minneapolis scene that we sometimes forget, that Prince wasn't sealed in a, bottle. Like, he was influenced by his father, by Andre, and I'm sure by Sonny T, and all of these like really fantastic musicians in Minneapolis. In
Yeah,
Minneapolis
and
alone.
the brother from The Way, his
Spike
name.
Moss.
Yeah.
Spike,
Stuff
yes,
like
Spike
that.
Moss. Yeah, indeed. So, like, Prince was a human being, contrary to popular belief. And he worked his butt off. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing What Did Prince Do This Week? To remind me, it's really like, I really wanted to do this to remind me of how much Prince worked, so that when I start whining, I can say Prince wasn't whining. He just did the work. So I found this tweet from Dame Funk. I don't know if it was recent or if it was old, but I loved it. It basically said that you don't have to be, all on social media talking. He was just like, just do. And he was like, Prince embodied that. I don't know the exact, I have to find it for you, but I just like, yes. So it goes back to the Yoda, do or do not, like try, there is no try, just do. So yeah. All right. So let's get started to the main event. Week 12. What did Prince do this week? We are finally here. But I do want to have this comment from C. Lee. Prince was a product of Black community, and unfortunately, many white critics, especially in his career, couldn't fathom or accept that. Yep. All righty. So, what did Prince do this week in 1983, week 12? So Prince did 3 live shows, and there was 1 studio visit. And let's look at our trusty calendar. And you can see that on Monday of last week, Prince in 1983, on March 21st, did a show at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. So I'm very excited to talk about that. And that's the reason why we're probably going to go over, because I can't believe we're already 44 minutes into the show. And then on Thursday, there was a show at San Antonio, Texas. And then on Friday, Norman, Oklahoma. And then on Saturday, there was a little ditty that was recorded called Jungle Love All right. So we got a lot to talk about. Here is our map, which we cribbed from Prince Vault. So you can see like where they're going while they're making those stops on the truck stops. And then this is our old school itinerary. And you can see that when it came to Jungle Love, they had already landed in Los Angeles, and Jungle Love is recorded at Sunset Sound. So they had a couple of shows before a couple of days off before they did their show in Los Angeles. And you can get a preview of what we'll be talking about next week at Triple Threat 40 when we do What Did Prince Do this week live with an audience. So can't wait. And here we go. I love this photo, which is the marquee for Radio City Music Hall. And you should notice that it says sold out. And then you should also notice that something is missing from the Triple Threat Tour at the Radio City Music Hall. What's missing, Michael Dean? Do you know?
The time?
Yes, you got it. The time. The time is missing because the time is not at this show. So let's get this party started. Hold on one second. Let me make sure that I know what I'm doing.
Ooh.
I'm Frankie Crocker from WBLS Radio here in New York. Thank you very much. And right now we'd like to get it warmed up here at Radio City Music Hall because we do have a fantastic show for you tonight. So I'd like to start off by you repeating after me, Vanity 6, Vanity 6, Vanity 6, Vanity 6. Come on, I don't hear you.
Vanity 6, goddamn.
Vanity 6. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, stand up if you will, make a lot of noise, and welcome Warner Brothers recording artist, Vanity 6.
Woo! So I would love to play the show, but the Prince Police. Okay, so this is a shot. Oops, I'm going too fast. From the Radio City Music Hall show. I do not know the photographer. If anybody knows the photographer, please let me know because I do want to give the photographers credit whenever I can. This is an incredible shot. I really love how into this, you can see Susan is, and I just love the camaraderie between the two, and it's a very gestural shot. It's just a really great shot. So if anybody knows the photographer, please let me know. And speaking of which, actually earlier, I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. I can't find it. Jeff Griffin.
Sorry.
Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay. Jeff Griffin told us that the book that Barney Hoskyns wrote was Imp of the Perverse. I put it on the screen, but I wanted to make sure that I also said that. And then, yes, Frankie Crocker. Let's see, Frankie Crocker was the first dude to ride a white stallion into Studio 54. CeeLo tried and failed this week. I didn't know that actually happened. So thank you, Web Diva, for letting me know about this. And this is another shot of Susan at the show from photographer Ebet, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Hey,
Robert.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan's great. Susan's one of my favorites. And this is the set list from the Vanity 6 show for the Radio City Music Hall. So we have an introduction by Frankie Crocker, the legendary Frankie Crocker, who put WBLS radio on the map. And then after intro, I thought it was fantastic that they started off the set with Makeup, which is my favorite song off of Vanity 6. And again, we've already talked about Prince's version on Originals, which is really incredible, but I still prefer Susan's version. And then they followed that up with Wet Dream, then Drive Me Wild, If a Girl Answers, Don't Hang Up, and then Nasty Girl. And what I want to talk about is I never understood why He's So Dull was a single, and obviously it's not in the set list, And so Love Sexy. I thought it was very much a cool set list, and they kind of knew what was up. And no Bite the Beat, even though I actually prefer Bite the Beat over He's So Dull. I actually like Bite the Beat a lot. But he's so dull. I never understood that. And this is a photo of Prince from Radio City Music Hall. I don't have the photographer, so if anybody knows the photographer, please let me know. But I love the lighting on this photo. I love, the red in his hair and the magenta, how it falls on the jacket. And it's also another very gestural shot, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful photo. And then this is one of my favorites. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this particular photo, but yes, they did sing to Benjamin Bradley. Yes, they actually did. No, they did not sing to tracks. The time was behind the curtain. So it was a live show. Like Vanity sung, but like Vanity, Brenda and Susan were singing, but the secret weapon, it's Jill Jones, because Jill Jones was also behind the curtain, also singing. While the time was actually playing the music. So they were not singing the tracks. And let me play. I'm going to play just a little bit. We'll see how this goes.
Let's go.
So this is the time.
Jelly bean.
Jelly bean. I'm shaking.
Brenda, we just want to play with you.
Yeah. It is so funky.
They were jamming.
They were jamming. And what's crazy is, again, everybody is, if you've been watching, you know that I attended the 1999 tour, as a teenager, and I do not remember Prince, but you want to know who I remember? Vanity 6.
Well, I ain't mad at that now. I mean, I remember it. I would have had the song. As fine as she is, don't make me have to sing.
It was something about that pink curtain scrim, if you're using the right terminology, the pink scrim with the black fishnet stocking on top of it. It was so graphic. And like these three women come out that were just like, oh my God, they're in their lingerie. I mean, I'm an early teen. And I was just like with my mouth, like.
Hilarious.
Yes. So I remember, and then also the music was just darn funky, right? So it was. Yes. Oh my God. So, and Makeup is my favorite. Is my favorite song. For sure. I pull it out all the time. It's one of my top Prince songs of all time. Makeup.
Really?
Love. Yes. Love that song. In fact, I loved all of Susan's songs. And one of my wishes is I hope and pray that there are some Susan tracks in the vault that have not been released. As for me, Prince was more experimental with the Susan tracks. Like they were way quirkier than the other tracks. And I love quirky, experimental, weird Prince, like weird in a good way. And Susan, I love the Susan tracks. They were my favorite of the Vanity 6 tracks. So Makeup, indeed. All right. And I want to show a couple more photos from the Radio City Music Hall show. So again, this is Mark Weiss. And then gotta find my mouse. And then I have to show this shot. You want to know why? Of course, you know why. Because of the smoke. Yes. The smoke. And you can see Jill here, right here. That's Jill, even though you can't tell it's Jill. But if you come to the symposium, I'm going to show another photo where you can actually see Jill clearly. But I wanted to save something for the symposium. But this is shot by James Tarver. And James Tarver actually took a lot of incredible photos of the Radio City Music Hall show, and I'll be showing more of those photos at the symposium. But one of the things that I love about this wide shot is that you can actually see the setup of the stage. And as we've been reading these reviews, everybody's like dissing the stage because technically it's the same stage from Controversy, but it's an incredible stage with the Venetian blinds and the light setup that Roy Bennett is doing, and just how the light bounced off of the Venetian blinds. And I don't know, the speaker stack setup, Prince was like jumping on the speaker stacks and all that. I don't know. I loved it. So thank you so much, Olga. I can't wait for the symposium. And Celie, I love the time of Prince on the 1999 tour, but I spent Vanity Sixes just staring at them, wondering now, what is this? Their set seemed like a play rather than a concert.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. I mean, with all of the reviews that we've read, no one took it seriously. Also, it was only 20 minutes. So it was truly an opening act. You know what I mean? It was just like, but I think that the music was fantastic. Like, we just heard it. The music was fantastic. So, and I didn't think they were horrible singers. Like, I mean, it sounded good to me. I mean, it worked. It worked for what Prince wanted it to do, in my personally opinion. And yes, that stage and those pictures are hot. Yeah, I like this, Blade Brown. I love this. Yeah, P gave Susan those go-go's type beats, dancey pop rock ditties. But it's more than dancey pop rock. They were, I don't know. It was, if you go back and listen to the Susan tunes, they were different from the other Vanity Six fare. And yes, Jill Jones had, in my opinion, the best Paisley Park release, bar none. But that's my personal opinion, and I'm sticking to it until I die. Okay, there you go. So, yes, it was a great stage, and it gave me continuity seeing both the Controversy and 1999 shows. Oh, Celie, I'm so jealous that you got to see the Controversy show. You have no idea. I would have loved to have seen the Controversy show. And then I spent a lot of time staring too, Celie, just maybe different thoughts.
Hilarious.
Thank you for sharing that, Lee Christian. Really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to read a couple of reviews. I'm not going to read the entire review because I know I don't want you guys to get tired of me reading. But again, the reason why I'm reading is to provide some context. So I'm going to start maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs in. And we're going to start with, this is by Wayne Robbins, and it is from Newsday from New York. And so this is New York-based newspaper, and the name of the article is Tempered Eroticism. So as a musician, Prince has developed an almost perfect synthesis between black and white styles. His music relies heavily on the guitar and synthesizer sounds most often heard in white rock and roll, while the funk underpinning of the rhythm section has the feel of the most up-to-date black dance music. Now, there's a lot I could talk about. I'm sure Celie would have a lot to talk about this, specifically white rock and roll. I think everybody should know that rock and roll is an extension of the blues, but we won't go there. Okay. Among the best musical moments, the unabashed provocation of Let's Pretend We're Married, which boldly insists that sex and love can be entirely separate entities. On 1999, Prince unleashed some fierce guitar in the manner of predecessor and somewhat kindred soul Jimi Hendrix. It's a great song, one that tempers the aggrandizing religious metaphors of his earlier erotic tunes with a more rational outpouring of millennial fear and joy. On stage, Prince has created a striking presence that also blends the best of traditionally black and white roles. He moves with the same androgyny of a young Mick Jagger, yet his splits, spins, and leaps recall the agile mastery of James Brown in his prime. It's a nice irony. Prince is perhaps the first Black performer to have learned his moves while watching Jagger, who himself learned his moves from James Brown. Perhaps the reason Prince could keep his clothes on was that his proteges in Vanity 6, the female trio that opened the show, all but had theirs off. Among their songs, only the appropriately named Nasty Girl had any distinction, but the group certainly gave an appealing display of lingerie. Now, obviously, I disagree about Nasty Girl being the only song of any distinction, since we just talked about makeup. So that gives you a sense of one of the reviews from New York. And I want to read one from, again, NME, also known as New Music Express. And I don't have the actual article. So if anybody does, if you could send it to me, you would be my best friend. But I do have the text of it from Rock's back pages that we talked about earlier. And the name of the article is called Sex Beat. And it is written by Richard Grable. And I'm not going to read the entire thing either. So I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs. And Richard Grable writes, "It's the sexual tease that first gets the audience going. Sex is also the important lyrical text. When Prince has tried politics, he hasn't fared half as well. But it's another kind of tease, the play of Prince's racial bridge building that clinches his importance and makes him exciting to watch. He can go from soul man, that falsetto, the dramatics of his ballad singing, to rock star. This stylistic shakeup has brought together whites listening to soul music and blacks listening to rock. And sad comment on the state of our union in America in 1983, that's miracle work. As to where that sexual text is going, well, the second verse of Little Red Corvette is the best bit of romantic poetry I've heard in a long time. Now, again, with this particular article, I could say a lot. And then if Arthur was here, I'm sure he would back me up on this. I always hate reading about how rock music is just for white people and soul music is just for black people. Remember my uncle? I don't know if you remember that picture in the first or second episode.
Mhm.
My uncles listened to everything. We were in rural Alabama, 30 miles from a McDonald's, and we were listening to Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, like ELO. I mean, everybody. And to say that Black people didn't listen to rock is just like insulting. And it comes up over and over and over again in these articles. So I don't know.
It's almost as if they're saying, like, we just don't have nothing to do with rock. You know what I mean? Even not necessarily even the listening part, just like, yeah, if it's rock, it's a white person made that, or you're trying, it's like, stop it. But I get why they're doing it.
No, I get why they're doing it too. But like, tell that the Fishbone, tell that the Bad Brains. I mean, I don't know.
Those artists they mentioned, they know
Yeah.
what it's all about. But yeah.
Yeah. So, yep. I love this. Lee Christian said that again, the moving so quickly, tribalization through popular culture is real, from Lee Christian. That is love this. Love Sexy 71.
Mm.
We gotta do our so we just got the end part on that, but we're gonna do it one more time.
Yeah, sexy.
All right. Thank you for that. And Living Color. Yes. Talk to Vernon Reed about that. Oh my God, Kyle Christian. No, you did not. Oh my God. You don't know. Michael Dean was like, what is going on? Follow for Now was my favorite band. My favorite local band. I saw Follow for Now a lot. And Follow for Now were this local Black rock band. And the leader is David Ryan Harris. And unfortunately, he went on. And the reason why I say unfortunately, he went on to become John Mayer's lead guitarist. And the reason why I say unfortunately is because David Ryan Harris is so talented. He has released his own albums. He was in Follow for Now. They were a Atlanta institution. Follow for Now was incredible. So Enrique on the drums. I won't even get started. So Kyle Christian, I know all about Fall for Now. In fact, I said if I ever got me a band together, I was going to call it Follow No More. That's how much I loved Fall for Now. Love, 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 love. Yes, Kyle Christian. He produced the first Dion Ferris record. David Ryan Harris did. So yes, and Tanja knows all about the Yin Yang days.
I thought she said Yin Yang Twins at first. I was like,
no. So Yin Yang was a very small club in Atlanta. And like I actually saw Erykah Badu for the first time at the Yin Yang Cafe in Atlanta. It was a very small club where the stage wasn't a stage. It was just, you were just on the floor with the artist.
oh wow.
Yes. You could reach out and touch them because that was how small it was. And so that was the first time I saw Erykah Badu. And I've seen like Michael Franti and Spearhead at Yin Yang. It was like a really great place in Atlanta. And yes, Dion Ferris's album Wild Seed, Wildflower. Yeah. And so Celia saying to say Black people didn't have anything to do with rock is as dumb as Hegel's assertion that Africa had nothing to do with civilization. Oh my God, yes, and Joy singing in the background. Don't get me like we're trying to get me over into my ATL days, and I will
love it. Go in.
Don't get me started on Follow for Now and the ATL sing. And yes, Kim, you know Yin Yang was a time. Oh, Tanja, wow, Peach, may she rest in peace. It was nothing like hearing Wow Peach and Joy back up Outkast. I mean, it was just like incredible, just really, really incredible. And Tracy's heard about Yin Yang. That's very, very cool. There's actually, I want to say there's a Yin Yang documentary. It's like an indie documentary that's really well done. So if you want to find out about the Yin Yang Club, I'll see if I can see if it's still somewhere that you can find it online. But it's a really, really dope documentary. Tanja, yes, we had it good. Yeah, the ATL in the late 80s and the early 90s, mid 90s was rocking. And then you also had Jason Orr with Funk Jazz Cafe, who was bringing in folks. And what was really cool for those of you who don't know about Funk Jazz Cafe is that Jason would never announce the lineup, never. So you didn't know who was going to show up. So, you know, we had like Bilal came to a Funk Jazz, which was me. We had Omar come to a Funk Jazz. We had, you know, obviously Outkast, Goody Mob, Jamie Foxx showed up at one. It was just like a really incredible time. You had to be there to understand it. And I am going off track, but that's okay because it was.
Y'all have a place called Moods Music out there or something?
Yes, Moods Music is actually my favorite record store, and it is a Black-owned record store by his name is Daryl. I can't remember his last name right now, but yeah. If you go to ATL and you want to go to a record store, go to Little 5 Points, and in Little 5 Points, there's not only Moods Music, but there's also Criminal Records, which is also a really fantastic record store, and my old faithful, my first love, which is Wax and Facts. So there are actually 3 record stores to this day, if you go to Little 5 Points, within a 3-minute walk of one another. Criminal Records and Moods Music are literally right across the street from one another. And then Wax and Facts is right around the corner. So that's how ATL represents, like they're still representing that you have 3 really incredible record stores. So it's one of the best places to be for a record store day. So I love being in Atlanta for record store day because if you can't get something in one, you can usually get it in the other. And sometimes my husband and I will split up to make sure we get what we want in case we know it's going to sell out because it's so close together. So you can really coordinate, you know, if you have a posse and you're trying to get your record store good. So the ATL is the best place to be on record store day. And let's see what Celi's talking about. So y'all should supplement that documentary with a book by y'all who were there during that time, and y'all should produce another documentary as well. Yeah, we really should. It was a really special time. And then let's see, Love Sexy 71. That journalist was either clueless or lazy back in 1983 for saying Black people had nothing to do with rock guitar. Yeah, I just think it was like a myth that kept getting perpetuated. And yes. they're still out there. They're still out there, Byron. They're still out there. And Kim is coming through. Record Store Day, founded by Eric from that is correct. Record Store Day was actually started by Criminal Records in Atlanta. So that just shows you how ATL rolls when it comes to music. You know, like music is really important to Atlanta. And that's the reason why, you know, the rap scene is so huge, you know, that, you know, began for me with Outkast and Goody Mob, but there are, you know, others before them, obviously, but they're the ones that put it on the map. And don't forget about LaFace Records, you know, and Babyface and that. I mean, again, like we're going all into like an ATL episode, which I was not expecting to do. So Cal Christian, thank you so much for that. I love Fall for Now. I might
check it out. I never heard of it.
Yes. They only released one album on Columbia Records, and I hated it because they didn't allow the drummer to drum on the record because they wanted him to drum to a click track, and he did not want to do that. So the producer, who is a very famous producer, and Kim, I don't know if you can help me out, like who produced the Fall for Now record. He was massive. He produced, I want to say like Stone Temple Pilots, some really heavy hitters. I want to say it was Brendan somebody, but my mental Rolodex is failing me right now. And yes, no, that's correct. You're right. It was Chrysalis. That's right, not Columbia. It's Chrysalis Records. Thank you, Kyle. Really appreciate it. And do you remember Kyle, who was the producer on that record, on the Fall for Now one? And then we have Elisa Sang, and before that, Rufus's lead guitarist is a beast on the axe with funk and rock. And don't forget about Eddie Hazel. I mean, and then there's also Jimmy Hazel from 24/7 Spies. Don't get me started on 24/7 Spies. So one of my favorite shows ever was Fall for Now, opened up for 24/7 Spies, and this was at the Cotton Club in Atlanta, which is no more. And I can't remember the third act, but I want to say it was Live in Color. But it was an incredible show. It was like really, really, really great. Okay, so let's get back to Prince. We are going to read another article about the Radio City Music Hall show, and I could not find the magazine that this came from. I only had an image of this. So if anybody knows what magazine this is from, please let me know. I thought it might be Cream because Craig Zeller wrote for Cream, CREEM, but I looked at Cream's archives and I could not find it. But the name of the article is Music Head, Too Few Tales. I'm not going to read the entire thing. But I'm going to read the majority of it. Okay, so the ooh la la bump and grind shenanigans of this Let's Pretend We're Porno Girls trio wears thin fast. Let me read that one more time. The ooh la la bump and grind shenanigans of this Let's Pretend We're Porno Girls trio wears thin fast. 20 minutes was just right for them. Musically, they were a funked out drag. Visually, they'd be perfect as the leads in the SCTV production of Chicks in Their Underwear. As for Prince, you may already know that I rate him with the best. When he's in concert at his most explosive and uninhibited, he's right up there with people like Springsteen and The Clash in their prime. His Radio City show, while not quite as incendiary as his 81 and 82 appearances at the Palladium and the Capitol, I'm going to read that one more time. His Radio City show, while not quite as incendiary as his 81 and 82 appearances at the Palladium and the Capitol, meaning controversy, okay, frequently took the crowd right through the roof. I guarantee you this kind of audience excitement hasn't been generated at Radio City since Kong broke loose of those chrome steel chains. The one big disappointment of the night was the shortness of the show. This keeps coming up over and over again about Prince's set being so short with encores. It just ran over an hour. Surely Prince gave his all and poured it on out, but when he finally got to the title cut from Dirty Mind, the soul selection from his finest hour, I thought we were at the halfway point. The next thing I knew, the stage was empty and people were yelling for more. Prince's band was always smoking, and Dr. Fink's surgical precision on the keyboards was scalpel sharp. Love that line. Co-keyboardist Lisa Coleman looked like she was in a dreamy trance most of the time. Her extended intro into, I love how they renamed the song, Why Don't You Call Me Anymore? It's like, other writers are looking at other people's writing and they won't check the actual name of the song. So we're talking about a song, Why Don't You Call Me Anymore, that doesn't exist. Okay. Sounded like a dropout from Chess Fever University. I don't understand what that means, but that's what was written. That song
don't feel right. What he said.
It doesn't feel right. That's right. A little shade. That's a little shade going on right there. That song was the show's low point. So we're talking about how come you don't call me anymore as being the show's low point. Okay. With Prince meandering away at an electric piano and overexerting his falsetto. The strangest moment came when a roadie replaced the kicked away stool and Prince threw it after him, then murmured into the mic, "Where was I?" I got somebody knows somebody who went to the show. We got to have somebody who went to the show on What Did Prince Do This Week. So please, somebody find me somebody.
He does this again. He's probably done it many times, but doesn't he do this in the Syracuse performance? He kicks the thing or something, and the guy comes. It's almost like it was a bit or something.
I think it was, but it wasn't the kicking. It was no more of the "Where was I?" All right. Everything he did from controversy was given the no holds barred treatment. Oddly, the stuff he did from 1999 got more of a laissez-faire treatment with brief but potent versions of Little Red Corvette and Let's Pretend We're Married. Dirty Mind was a standout despite the female orgasm prelude.
Hilarious.
1999 was right behind it in terms of wild abandon. International Lover ended it all with Prince doing eroticized push-ups in a bed. Oh my God. Eroticized push-ups. Okay. All he needed to top it off was a partner. Needless to say, the audience was filled with countless volunteers for the missionary position. Prince isn't perfect. He sometimes indulges in passé heavy metal Hendrixisms. I'm going to reread that. Prince isn't perfect. He sometimes indulges in passé heavy metal Hendrixisms. Okay. On occasion, his explicit theatrics can get excessive. His latest album is 50% filler.
Wow, he's going in.
That's what he said. And this time, his showtime was needlessly truncated, but flaws and all, he's still one of the greats. And like Marvin Gaye, he's a master at sexual healing. He'd be the first to tell you it's because he does it right.
I just want to go back to the one point, and this is not the hate, but again, it's something I remember them always doing, comparing it to the Springsteen and all that. I'm not taking nothing away from those cats, but the difference to me about Prince is that Prince was appealing to all the people and was rocking. I don't know, and I never went. So y'all could tell me, was there a quote unquote crossover audience that was going to Springsteen and he was killing all styles of music, or was he just staying in his lane? So to me, it's not even a comparison. Like, them cats is dope, but they're not, like Prince said, they ain't gonna do no 1999, or they're not gonna do, they stay in that one sort of genre. Prince was knocking them all down and appealing to everybody. So they really can miss me with all of the little references they be having to those cats. I might get why they do it, but Prince was something else, man. He
Yeah.
was on a different level.
I mean, that's it. Like when it comes to music, I don't know why I'm echoing, but for some reason I am, but I think it stopped there. When it comes to music, people always want to categorize music and they want to categorize Prince. And Prince was a genre unto himself, and he should not
music. Yeah, it was music. The
music.
totality of it.
Yeah. And so I think that's where, when people want to talk about something, they have to label it. And so it's with the labeling where things kind of get a little crazy.
Yeah, and the talking about the how come you don't call me no more, all that. Just say you don't like that style of music. Don't try to say he was Mandarin. For people who like soul R&B, that was dope. Like, what are you talking about? The falsetto. Just say you don't listen to that kind of music. That's what I don't like about it, man. They don't know nothing about that. So, why was he going to he's doing the erotic, and he just keeps doing the falsetto. That's our stop. What are you talking about? That's for the late, the players in the group. I get me.
I love Blade Brown's comment. I got, everybody should know Under Cherry Moon is my favorite, and I know exactly what you're referencing here. I picture some of these writers physically cringing and spazzing like the old French waiter and Under the Cherry Moon during his performances.
Is your shoes on too tight or something?
Yes. Oh my God. Let's see. So yes, I love this, Man Ray. Like Duke Ellington, Prince is beyond categorization. And then let's see what Seedley has to say. Think about how most bootleggers had a problem following Prince across the stage because they were only used to white artists who stand in one place and strum their guitars. And Kim says Prince veritably knocked them out the box.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in terms of, I mentioned this earlier, I don't have anything for the San Antonio show. So if anybody has anything for the Thursday, March 24th, and even if you know someone who went and they'd be willing to come on, that would be really fantastic because I would love to hear about the San Antonio set. And then we also don't have anything, at least I couldn't find anything on the Norman, Oklahoma, March 25th show. Oh my God, I can't believe we're almost at a half hour because we got to talk about Jungle Love.
Well, you know what? Real quick, and I saw it in the comments. Mm-hmm. We don't want to skip the fact that when you mentioned it earlier, the time was not on this show.
Yes.
We got at least spend 5 minutes.
Well, actually, I want you to, I want you to read actually, and this comes up in the book on page 43. Do you mind actually? Yeah, page 43 of the book. And you can start at like part of the reason, which is kind of midway in the page.
Got it. All right. So part of the reason for the growing frustration was that many of the band members felt they weren't being paid properly. I was only getting $250 a week, and I had a hit song out, Vanity complained in a 2013 radio interview. I was performing for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people a month, but I wasn't getting paid for any concert tours, nothing. So Prince was taking all that money, and I thought, you know what? This is adding up to nothing. I'm living in a hotel. I didn't even have an apartment. To compensate for this, Prince would occasionally treat Vanity Six to something nice. He would really do sweet things at times, recalls Hamilton, who had started out on the current tour managing Vanity Six before she was promoted to Prince's tour manager. When I was still with Vanity Six, he went out somewhere and he bought us all robes, 4 of the same dressing gowns in 4 different colors, a different color for each one of us. It was very sweet. As usual, the financial situation frustrated members of the time, but as an added insult, they were sometimes taken off the bill, generally in the major cities like New York and Los Angeles. They still performed, but only as the backing band for Vanity Six and always hidden behind the pink curtain. He made us play for them and wouldn't let the time play, complained Jellybean Johnson. Do you know what it's like to have a major star, Quincy Jones, Sting, coming to see us and we didn't play? After a while, it was like, you guys can't do New York, you guys can't do LA. There were a lot of issues starting to brew behind the scenes, recalled Day. His real knack is trying to discourage people, and to keep them from being confident, Jesse Johnson explained in 1988. He used to tell us that people wouldn't know us if we walked down the street. Let me just go. I'm just give the print. People wouldn't know you guys if you walk down the street. They're only here to see me. No, he didn't say that. He likes to tell you stuff like that because, of course, if you got people believing that, then they're always going to be there, accepting that small paycheck and feeling happy. We were all loyal to Prince, recalls Jelly Bean. He may not think so, but we were. That's the thing. So after bumping your head so much against the wall, you just have to protect your interests. I don't know if we may go any further, but
No, I think that's enough. But then you can, like, I know I cut you off, so I know you had something to say about, I will say this before, and I apologize for cutting you off, but when you were reading this, I felt the pain. The time were there. They were playing for Vanity 6 behind the curtain, but their name is not on the marquee.
Yeah, it's a longtime fan. When there was always books on Prince, they would this part of the story was always sort of a big part that I would remember back then. And, I just chalk it up to, his egos, age, maturity, people in other people's ears. And of course, they probably saw Prince as they should have, as he was the main draw and everything is sort of supporting him. But the fact that the time could arguably be in their prime, possibly at this point, and were killing it on stage, man, that was just one big mess not to have them be spotlighted, to get their shine at these places. And I can imagine, you can only imagine how that would feel if here we're going to be at one of the bigger venues in the industry and we're not going to get no spotlight, but we're going to be relegated to play behind Vanity 6 on a curtain. Man, that's gotta, and then, not even talking about the financial stuff, but just the fact that, man, can we at least get our look? Like, this would be the thing that might put us, to the next level. And that was Prince did him dirty.
Yeah, because
he did him dirty.
This was a major city, like, New York and LA in terms of the music scene back then. And a lot of other musicians and producers were coming to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And, like Jelly Bean said, to come see them. Right.
Yeah, man. And imagine it would be like, I don't know, later years, if it was Sheila E.'s band, or they were hitting and they was like, well, we're gonna take you off, but you're gonna go play behind the curtain and back up Carmen Electra or something. like, huh?
Yeah.
But man, I wonder, I can imagine why there was a lot of tension.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm surprised they didn't want to walk or like protest. Like, man, what's going on? But then, like, this was all they had. Kind of like, this is our opportunity to shine, but kind of being held back because they were kind of beating them a little bit. It sucks, but that's what happened. I wonder if they would have had social media back then, that would have been a mess, because they would have been, we can't play that. But yeah, man, that was a sad thing, because they earned that position.
They really did. So I actually want you to read a little bit about the San Antonio show on page 45, because this was the whole Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis stuck in the snow in the ATL, which keeps coming up. His ATL day. ATL. What Prince did do this, but we don't want to read the whole thing because it's a lot. For those of you who don't know about the whole snowstorm situation, you should read the book, which we're supposed to be doing. Right. So you can read all about it on page 45. But if you don't mind, Michael Dean, reading starting at Lisa Coleman and Prince. So, so basically, just to set this up, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are stuck in Atlanta because they were producing a song for the SOS band, and if you know anything about Atlanta, Atlanta is not equipped for one speck of snow. One speck of snow. So they got stuck in Atlanta, and the Time had a show on the Triple Threat Tour in San Antonio on March 24th, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were not there to take the stage. So take it away with Lisa Coleman.
All right. Lisa Coleman and Prince were tasked with playing keyboard and bass from behind the curtain, while Jill Jones stood in Jimmy's place and Jerome took Terry's spot on the stage. Guitarist Jesse Johnson remembered the humor behind the scenes. Morris and I were dying on stage. We were laughing our butts off the whole time. There was a part in the song where Morris would go, "Terry," but there was no Terry. It was the funniest show, agrees Jones. I knew these two chords because I had seen them play. Prince was not happy. There was trouble in River City. Despite the backstage drama, the reviews were very positive. The San Antonio Express News enjoyed Prince's show, but proclaimed that the Times stole the heart of this San Antonio crowd and played on the emotions of the fans and wiped them out with an unforgettable encore featuring The Walk. Prince seemed to be over the entire event when Jimmy and Terry rejoined the tour for the remaining dates, according to Jam. Prince thought we'd gone to Atlanta to see some girls. So when we saw him, he just said, "That's what you get." He and management fined us for missing the gig, which was kind of laughable. I think they fined us $2,000, but we were making only $170 a week. So I don't know where they thought that was. Well, I don't know where they thought they were going to get that money from. I know that's from. Prince playing on stage during the Times performance wasn't odd for him, according to sound man Cubby Colby. He wrote the music. He knew the stuff. He'd know all their parts. Prince used to set up the keyboard, and I had his guitar mixed to me at the monitor board and his vocal mic. He would just go over there and then play his keyboards and sing into the mic. Of course, nobody in the audience could see him because he was behind the speaker stack on stage. We draped it all off, and he would just listen to my cue monitor and cue off of that and play his keyboard. Again, have his guitar, have the bass right there. He would just play his little parts and add little licks in and just have a riot and be there for Vanity Six's set, and then take off and have a tea, come back for a little bit of the Time set, take off, get ready, and come out and play his own set. I mean, obviously Prince knew that music line for line, word for word, scripture for scripture, and could just jump in and do his thing. But
because he wrote it. I mean, I find this bit really fascinating because when I originally read this, I thought, this was really about this particular date. But if you reread it, Cubby is really saying that he did this all the time, which is actually really interesting. And that, I'm sure, must have been frustrating. Let's say like for Jesse, if Prince doing some guitar lick, behind the stage, and he can't even see it. That's got to be frustrating.
Doing the, he's going to jump in and take the solo or play some eels. I mean, you ain't going to play, probably not going to play it better than Prince. Like, damn, can I get an opportunity? But I mean, hey, it's a unique situation. I don't know if there's any other artist that had that much control, and even in the sense of he could play it better than probably most of the other musicians too, right? And he could jump in at any time he wanted to.
Yeah. So I do want to read like one paragraph from the Friday, March 25th show. So Michael Dean, if you don't mind reading about the Norman, Oklahoma, actually after the show. So just that one paragraph after the show on page 46.
Okay. Oh, after the show. Okay, got it. After this show, the tour headed to Los Angeles for a few days of rest and recording at Sunset Sound before the concert at the Universal Amphitheater on March 28th. Wendy Melvoin's position as the potential replacement for Dickerson was becoming more and more obvious as her connection with Prince grew. "We have a lot of fun together," she said in 1986. "When I first joined the band, Lisa and I Lisa and I convinced him to drive to Los Angeles to stay with my sister Susanna. Lisa, me, and our three
Persian cats.
Persian cats, excuse me. Susanna and Lisa and I all slept on the fold-out couch, and we put him in the bedroom. We'd go out in my old beat-up Mustang and get ice cream and drive around. It was like having a pajama party. We go to the grocery store together late at night. Wendy later reflected on how relaxed Prince was with them. One time, he grabbed a massive bag of grapes, and were, the guys were getting ready to display. There was something cute and naive about it. You don't need that many, but he bought them. At the same time as his relationship with Wendy was growing, his relationship with the time was being stretched thinner and thinner. But there was a tour to complete, and while Prince had the reins, he was still going to make the calls.
So we're seeing that there's about to become a transition, and with the band in particular, because we're almost getting to the end of the 1999 tour, actually. So something to think about. So we want to switch now and talk about, they're in LA now, and they're at Sunset Sound. And on Saturday, March 26th, Prince records Jungle Love and an untitled instrumental. I would love to know what that untitled instrumental is. I'm going to read at the bottom of page 47. And again, we're reading this whole thing is a book club around Dwayne's book, which is Prince in the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions, 1983 and 1984. This is our text that we are reading. So again, this is where we're reading from. And I'm at the bottom of page 47 about the Jungle Love date at Sunset Sound. So the session included Jimmy Jam, Morris Day, Terry Lewis, and Jesse Johnson, who witnessed Prince's anger. Now, I'm not going to read that bit. If you want to read that bit, you have the book, and there's a paragraph from Peggy. And I'm going to read a little bit from 48. I loved Peggy Mack, exclaims Jesse Johnson. Her and Prince were always about to kill each other, but she got such a great sound on everything. She was one of the best engineers I've ever worked with in my life. She was so great. She'd set up that drum kit and have that so killing. And then the other paragraph I really wanted to read was overdubs took place after the 10 p.m. dinner break with Jesse Johnson using Prince's Honor Telecaster to play rhythm guitar. It was likely that during the session, Johnson added his solo using a pink G&L prototype in his 1979 Marshall JCM 800 amp. After the session, Johnson and Foster Silvers, if you don't know who Foster Silvers is, like Michael Dean would say, do your Googles, producer, songwriter, and member of the Silvers, but he's way more than that, went to another studio and recorded guitar on Dead Giveaway for Shalimar. So Jesse Johnson went to another studio at Sunset Sound and recorded guitar on Dead Giveaway for Shalimar. Dead Giveaway would be released in July, and Jesse's rhythm guitar work on the track would go uncredited. So in terms about, do you mind reading the status of Jungle Love on page 49?
Jungle Love, 5 minutes, 26 seconds, was eventually placed on the Times Ice Cream Castle album. An edited single, 326, was released on December 12, 1984 in the United States and rose to number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles charts, as well as number 6 on the Billboard Black singles chart and number 9 on the Billboard Dance Disco Top 80 chart. The song would also be featured in the Purple Rain movie, but the version used in the movie was from a live performance recorded on October 4th, 1983. The 10-minute instrumental remains unreleased. It is unclear if lyrics were ever added, but elements like the strumming guitar would end up being reused on songs like Kiss in 1985. The date was listed as March 25th, So it is possible that these tracks were started while Prince was in Oklahoma, but it is more likely that the other date was a mistake. There you go.
There you go. All right. So let's see what we got. So Jesse Johnson on Facebook back in January 18, 2017. I'm not going to read all of this because we would be here like for another hour. But if again, this is in the slide deck, and the slide deck is at the bottom of our book club website. And if you click on the image, it will go directly to the Facebook post that Jesse did. And it's a lot of detail about the recording of Jesse Johnson. So Jesse Johnson originally demoed the track. Technically it's Jesse's song that Prince built on top of. And what's cool about this post is that Jesse has the original demo on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
So you can actually go and listen to Jesse's version of Jungle Love. So
salute to Jesse Johnson, man.
Salute to Jesse. Incredible. One thing I want to read from this. So he, in the beginning paragraph, he talks about how he would give Prince songs all the time, and most of the time, Prince and Morris, in some cases, might laugh at the song. And the third paragraph, Jesse says, lesson learned: never get too discouraged when people laugh and tell you your stuff's sorry, or at least in the beginning anyway. Be your worst critic. Compare what you are doing to whomever it may be that you admire and hold it in high regard. And then he goes on to say that, needless to say, Jungle Love went on to become the Times' biggest selling, highest charting, and most recognizable hit in the Times catalog. I also co-wrote, co-produced, as well as performed on along with Prince on Ice Cream Castle, The Bird, and If the Kid Can't Make You Come. And so, like, FYI, he has the version contained in this post is from my TIAC. Do you remember TIAC cassettes? I do. TIAC cassette tape, and recorded at my Cedar Square West apartment, 1408 Minneapolis, Minnesota, on a Tascam 8-track recorder. I played guitar, 1966 Purple Mossrite, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, bass guitar, Fender Precision, key bass, horns, organ, Oberheim, OBSX. The version of JL from the Times Ice Cream Castles was recorded at Prince's studio at his Chanhassen, Minnesota crib. In studio was Prince, Morris, and me. I played key bass, Oberheim OB8, rhythm guitar. I used Prince's Honor Telecaster and lead guitar, GNL. Prince and I recorded the bass line and horns simultaneously. Talking about nervous, Prince split the Oberheim OB8 with bass at one end and horns on the other. We recorded simultaneously into 2 tracks.
Wow. Jesse, it's the part about him saying they would sort of laugh at him, it's dope though, because we're talking about Prince and Morris Day. And at that time, them brothers was creating fire, right? And Jesse's kind of watching, learning, and picking up, and then having them say that ain't it. And then him coming later, okay, I've learned. Now check it out. And you can hear like he's been studying them cats and learning. And then when you get to his albums, which are dope to me, like I see now why he got that style locked in, because he'd been studying under 2 Minneapolis funk Yodas, and picking up the licks and understanding, okay, this is how you write the song. And then he becomes a beast, in my opinion. Like
Jesse was incredible. And speaking of Jesse, I'm glad we're talking about Jesse. Most of Jesse's protege catalog has finally been released on streaming services. So you got The Crash. I love the first The Crash record. And you got Tamara and the Scene. So all of that is on streaming now. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. You know what? I saw Sue Ann Carwell perform Affection in Minneapolis, like since what I call post Prince. She killed it. She killed that song. It's such a great song, though. Like Jesse can write some songs. And one other thing I wanted to read from Jesse's Facebook post is he says that, just so you know, the version of Jungle Love in Purple Rain, the motion picture that was recorded live at First Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota, by the record plant, New York Remote Truck. We had recorded the studio version, but Morris hadn't sung it yet.
Oh, wow.
So that was a little bit of detail. And yes, Tamara, there are two. I didn't really like the second album that as much as the
Blueberry
first.
Gossip.
Blueberry Gossip. Did you like that one?
I had a couple songs I liked. But
Yeah, the first one. The first one is the one. Yes, Blues in My Sunshine is really fantastic because Jesse is basically produced that, and I can't remember the date, but it's a more recent date, like in the 2000s, if not the 2010s. Kyle, give me a date if you have it. Yes, the first Tamara in the Scene was really great, and then let's see what AC is talking about. I remember an interview someone did with Joe Walsh. They asked him who is the best guitarist in the world. He said you have to ask Prince about that. What a beautiful musician. That comes up a lot. Oh, wait, hold on. We got someone who was at a San Diego show of the Triple Threat Tour. It was so awesome for my 15-year-old self. Ben, let me know if you want to come on. We would love to hear about your experience once we get to that date, which should be fair. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Is that a 1982 date or a 1983 date? Because if it's a 1982, we want to get there. But you can still come on because we want to hear from people who actually went to the 1999 tour. So just let me know. And 2010, thank you for that. So Blues in My Sunshine, the album that Jesse actually recorded with Sue Ann, which is a really great album, is particularly if you're into the blues, or Jesse or Sue Ann, and it came out in 2010. And let's see what Celie. I love seeing George Harrison quit the Beatles in the HBO documentary because they wouldn't take his suggestions. The documentary was really long. I actually finished it. The reason why I love that documentary is, and I hope that it did really well, because it would be fascinating to see a Prince documentary like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they didn't record. I believe we don't know. Prince recorded so much. Who knows what's in the vault? I'm not going to say that, but I thought it was fascinating just to see the entire recording process. When I was in school, one of my Mr. Edmondson is one of my favorite high school teachers. He taught me English. I could talk a lot about Mr. Edmondson, but I won't bore you. But I remember him asking me, was like, what, do you want to marry Prince? Because I was into Prince. And I was like, no, I want to go in the studio and watch him record. That's what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do. So like seeing the Beatles, that actual process was fascinating to me. Yes, it was some boring spots, but I wish I could see Prince in that same process for hours and hours. I would just like love it.
Yeah.
Just eat it all up.
If something like that was available, because like you said, I'm not even a Beatles fan, but I did watch some of that, and I thought it was fascinating. I was like, wow, I can imagine if I was really into them, I would be glued to this. Like,
awesome. Colin went to the Pittsburgh show. Yeah, let me know. Let's see where you're on YouTube, but I'm on Facebook as Polished Solid. I'm on Twitter as Polished Solid. If you reach out on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram that much. I do not like Instagram's interface. It doesn't make any sense to me. It was well done. Yes, it was. And yes, I knew about the book. I'm not a massive Beatles fan, even though I have the entire collection, because there was a box set that was released, because I find them fascinating, their musical journey that they took. I'm actually more of a fan of George Harrison than I am of the Beatles. I loved George Harrison's solo work. Yes, Web Diva, I do too. I love the Beatles doc, seeing their creative process, and Harrison killed it in the black fur coat. Yeah, George Harrison for me was the one. He doesn't get talked about as much as McCartney and Lennon, and then poor Ringo, but George Harrison was the one for me. And let's see. I have that box set, Love the Beatles. Yes, the black one, the accordion. Elisa, do you have the black accordion fold one? I love that. And then Sakia is saying, I hope that the doc about Prince focus on his genius and not what women a song is for or band members. We will see. hopefully. Here comes, let's see, Here Comes the Sun is my favorite song from Beatles. Frank Zappa, yes, I've listened to Frank Zappa as well. Yes, I haven't started with, I have several Frank Zappa albums, but I haven't done a deep dive because Frank Zappa is just as prolific as Prince, and I don't want to go down 2 rabbit holes. I can only have one rabbit hole, and that's the purple one. So I admire Frank Zappa a lot, and I do have some of his records, like Hot Rats is one of my favorites, but I can't do the deep dive. I also want to do a deep dive into like P-Funk, because like I don't have, but like Parlette, like that's a whole, and then even with James Brown had a massive universe. It wasn't just James Brown, it was like the JBs. It's just like Lynn Collins. It's just too much. So I only have one lifetime, and that lifetime is dedicated to Prince. And even with dedicating all my free time to Prince, I still don't know everything. I still obviously haven't heard everything. I still haven't seen everything. Prince is enough for my lifetime. So that's what I've got to stick with, because it's just too much. All right. So we're almost at the end. We have just like 3 more slides to go, and we got 10 minutes. So we're going to stop it at the top of the hour. So far in 1983, Prince has done 40 live shows total, 1 after show total, which was the previous week at the Registry Hotel in Minneapolis, and then 10 studio visits total so far in 1983. And so far, and I put an asterisk by it because we don't know this to be true. This is just based on Dwayne's research, Prince Vault's research. Who knows what else is in the vault? But for right now, 6 songs so far have been tracked in 1983. And those songs are Electric in the Chorus, which was in January, Wonderful Ass. And both of those have asterisks. So we don't know that is actually accurate, but it might be accurate. And then also same for Wonderful Ass. And then we have Katrina's Paper Dolls in March, Strange Relationship in March, Jungle Love in March, and an untitled instrumental also in March. So this is basically where we are in terms of Prince in 1983. And we will return next week at the Triple Threat Symposium, and we're going to do What Did Prince Do Live? And I just want to actually quickly show what we're going to be reading for next week. So next week, we're going to be reading pages 49 through 58 of the book, and it's going to be Sunday, March 27th, 1983 through Saturday, April 2nd, 1983. So that's what we're going to be reading. All right. So
in person.
That's right. I can't wait. So I hope that everyone who's coming from out of town, including Michael Dean, has safe travels. And we're going to be teleported into 3 days of the purple world. It's nothing like it to just be immersed in Prince and just let the cares of the real world just fall away for 3 days of nothing but purple world and purple love. Is nothing like it.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
These
All right.
supposed to get longer and longer, aren't they?
Yes, it's because I'm going to keep it at 2 hours, but it's just that we've had some important shows, like the Radio City Music Hall is important, and then we just couldn't say Jungle Love was recorded and then bye.
Right. No. You do a whole show on Jungle Love itself.
Yeah, you could do So it's because we've had some important stuff. And then last week was the Bloomington, Minnesota show, and it was like that. So yeah. All right. So as Michael Dean would say,
work it like a job. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace. Yeah.
Thank you.